Hi everyone, welcome to English with Min. Today we're going to look at another example of question type 1 on the TOEFL speaking. I know we did one of these in our last session, but I wanted to try to touch upon all of the different question formats. In my last video, which you can see in my playlist, we went over the different formats. The question we'll be looking at today is a problem solution type question. Here's the question. Describe a challenge you experienced in your life and explain how you overcame it. Use examples and details to respond to the task. So here, we see a clear division in the task. You are being asked to describe a challenge or a problem you experienced, and then you have to explain what you did to solve it. So this is a problem solution type question. For questions like this, I always find that the most difficult thing is coming up with something to talk about. A lot of you, including myself, may think, a challenge? I don't think I've experienced any big challenge. Or, I do have an idea, but 45 seconds is much too short to explain what I've been through. For a question like this, the intention is not really to share all of your deepest, darkest secrets. Rather, think of something that's simple, doesn't require too much background information, and has a simple solution. Examples like difficulty in a class, a low test grade, a group project are safe and easy examples. Remember, you will not be evaluated on the content itself, but more on how you respond. Plus, the TOEFL really tests your academic English proficiency, so school-related topics are always good. One more thing. Many young test takers, like middle school students, probably will not have experienced many life-altering challenges, so don't feel pressured to come up with something too dramatic. Let's look at some vocabulary before we actually get into the answer. Number 1, compatible. The prefix com in compatible means together, and so compatible means to exist or occur together without conflict. Compatible can be used to describe people, things, and events. The charger is not compatible with my phone. Number 2, dilemma. A situation where a choice needs to be made between two options. When I had to choose only one of the two essays I wrote to submit for my class, I found myself in a real dilemma. Number 3, virtually. By means of virtual reality techniques. This means that something is not happening face-to-face but online. Virtually also means nearly or almost, but in this response, we will use it to mean the first definition. We spoke virtually the other day. Number 4, toss around. Toss around is an idiom and it is used to mean exchange. Nothing is actually being thrown around, which is why we use the term figuratively. The participants tossed around suggestions at the meeting. Number 5, to put something together, to assemble. Usually, this term is used when something is being built, like a piece of furniture, but we can also use it for things like presentations, PowerPoints, or even a paper. I'm in the process of putting my paper together for next week. Number 6, delegate. To delegate means to assign. A specific role was delegated to each of the representatives. Now back to the question. You are being asked to describe a problem or a challenge you faced, and then you have to explain what you did to solve it. Timing is everything here, so let's try to follow a 5-15-15-5 structure. 5 seconds for the introduction, 15 seconds for point 1, 15 seconds for point 2, and 5 seconds to conclude. In our next lesson, we'll take a closer look at this timing structure. For this question, let's say that point 1 is your problem and point 2 is your solution. A challenge I think a lot of people can relate to is preparing for a group project for school or work. You want to ask yourself, what factor do I want to talk about, and which detail should I provide? My answer looks like this. A challenge that I experienced was preparing for a group project. I had to do a group presentation for my English class. However, it was really difficult for the 4 people in my group to agree on a time to meet. Our schedules were not compatible at all. Some of us had part-time jobs, and our class schedules were all different. While we all wanted to do well, this dilemma was a real problem for us. Now for part 2, the solution. What was the solution, and why was it successful? Finally, we decided to have online meetings in the evenings. It worked really well. Every 2 days, we would meet virtually and toss around ideas. We delegated tasks so that every person was responsible for one thing. I was in charge of putting the PowerPoint together. In the end, we did a great job. Now, let's put all of this together. A challenge that I experienced was preparing for a group project. I had to do a group presentation for my English class. However, it was really difficult for the 4 people in my group to agree on a time to meet. Our schedules were not compatible at all. Some of us had part-time jobs, and our class schedules were all different. While we all wanted to do well, this dilemma was a real problem for us. Finally, we decided to have online meetings in the evenings. It worked really well. Every 2 days, we would meet virtually and toss around ideas. We delegated tasks so that each person was responsible for one thing. I was in charge of putting the PowerPoint together. In the end, we did a great job. Don't forget our vocabulary and expressions. Compatible, dilemma, virtually, toss around, put something together, delegate. Now it's your turn. Take out your stopwatch, get ready, and go.